about something that's blown up, dude. The amazing digital circus. I mean, I'm just floored by how popular it's become.
Well, it was like the day it came out, I was seeing a lot of it in a similar style to the day that the Has-Been Hotel pilot came out.
Yes.
Like, it popped up all over my own YouTube feed, despite me never really actually getting a chance to go back and watch anything from Glitch, like I said I was going to. And I was just like, this reminds me of when the pilot from, Has-Been Hotel came out, and everybody was talking about it.
Well, the unbelievable...
The difference being is when I saw the digital... No, there wasn't a difference, actually. I thought the same thing. When I originally saw the digital circus artwork, I was like, I don't know if this is going to be something I'm into or not. And I was the same way about the Has-Been Hotel. I was like, I don't know if this is going to be something I'm into or not. But both of them, when I actually watched them, I really liked them. So.
Well, the crazy thing is about Has-Been Hotel, 4 years ago is when it was released. Mm-hmm. And it has currently 91 million views. Whereas Digital Circus... I just looked at it. Digital Circus has over 78 million, and it's only been out for 3 weeks.
Damn.
That is insane.
That could be in part to the fact that Has-Been Hotel has a particular demographic it's targeted towards that is smaller overall than the demographic that Digital Circus is actually targeted.
Digital Circus, I do think, does appeal to a more massive audience.
There are obviously a lot of people that aren't in the demographic intended for Has-Been Hotel that watched it anyways. But
also
technically, that's an adult cartoon with adult humor and themes that kids shouldn't be watching. But like Digital Circus... If you're a kid that's like into slightly spooky stuff and weird stuff, I can see.
Well, yeah, I think Has-Been Hotel would definitely be rated R, whereas Digital Circus would definitely be PG-13.
Considering they're not cursing in it, they censor
the hell out of it. Yeah,
like it could be considered not like young child friendly, but at least a lot friendlier to young people than Has-Been Hotel.
Well, it's like I said, Digital Circus would definitely be PG-13, whereas Has-Been is definitely a hard R rating.
Yep.
The hard R. Uh-oh.
Not in that way.
Oh no, our camera died.
Nah.
Seriously? It's plugged in. It's plugged into the power. What the hell?
How are you supposed to see anything when it's just dark and there's a giant signal thing on the screen?
God dang it.
I can't see anything. I'm blind.
One eternity later.
You notice that it looks a little bit different now because of the camera. It is. And the main reason for that is because I had to switch cameras. Apparently, the one that we've been using, the Sony, the decent one, the 4K one, it basically is kaputski right now because of the battery being exhausted. I hope the battery isn't dead, but if it is, an easy fix. I just gotta wait for another one to come in. So, yeah, currently what we have right here is the Instalink 360 cam, which we predominantly use for live stream, or for we didn't really live stream, but we used it to record us playing music over there, and it went pretty good. I'm not gonna lie, it was all right. But yeah, we have here a film theory about Digital Circus. Apparently, the amazing Digital Circus is lying to you. No, I'd have never thought that. Well, we might as well find out what it's all about. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Let's go.
There is no escape. Ever.
No.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Film Theory, the show that'll be theorizing day after day after day after day after day, and we don't know why. Let's talk about the amazing Digital Circus, shall we?
You, my friend, stumbled into an incredible world of wonders, where anything can happen, except for swearing.
Oh my god.
In case you aren't caught up with this one, this is the latest series from the creative geniuses over at Glitch Productions. This one was written, produced, and directed by Gooseworks, a talented artist who also composed music for both Has-Been Hotel and Hell of a boss, and their creativity and experience really come through with this one. I gotta say, you guys went crazy recommending this one to us across comments, GT Live, and our subreddit, and it's pretty darn easy to see why. Between the amazing animation, gifable moments, and incredible cast of characters, and a storyline wrapped up in like 18 different layers of mystery, this is the perfect show for us to dive into. Which means that if you haven't watched the first full episode yet, go do it. Watch it after this theory. Though I'd be surprised if you hadn't, because this thing all...
We're way ahead of you there, Mr. Editor. We did watch it. As a matter of fact, we did a reaction to it. And if you want to see our reaction to it, hey, probably be linked somewhere on the screen. Maybe up in the corner, up above Nick's head, over there somewhere. That bright light you see in the top corner, that's probably where it'll be. Anyway.
Already has like 30 million views across the platform.
Make that 78, brother.
Is doing mighty well for itself. But just so we're all on the same page for today's theories, a pilot follows a woman named Pomni, who's thrust into a strange digital world styled after a circus, alongside 5 other humans. Jax, the lovable jerk, Ragatha, the sweet optimist, Gangle, who can't hide her emotions, Zubul, who's made out of a bunch of random objects, and Kinger, who's been trapped there the longest and has gone kinda crazy as a result. The whole circus is run by a ringleader named Kane, who according to the show's website is a, quote, wacky AI, and all of the humans are just subject to his every whim desire.
By the way, the voice, somebody told me something, and I already forgot what.
A brand new adventure for our new member, Pomni!
I said that like 5 minutes ago.
However, the humans don't necessarily want to go on these adventures, and they're constantly trying to find ways of getting out. This has even driven some of them insane, leaving them abstracted, where they devolve into monsters. Case in point, the clown Kaufmo was obsessed with finding the exit, and abstracts just before Pomni shows up.
Oh, Kaufmo's been obstructed. It's okay.
What is that?
And yet, even when Pomni does get herself to the exit in this pilot episode, it doesn't go anywhere. It's just endless hallways and office spaces repeating. It is basically the back rooms. As it turns out, Kane made this fake exit, hoping to give the humans what they wanted. He just didn't know what to put on the other side.
I do have to apologize for lying about the exit. I was having so much trouble figuring out what to put on the other side and ended up never quite finishing it.
And more or less, that's where we leave the colorful cast of the Amazing Digital Circus after this first episode. Now, already there's just so much world building here for us to dig into. So many questions posed that we want the answers to. Like, who's behind the Amazing Digital Circus? Is there an actual way out, or are they just trapped forever? Are characters like Kaufmo really gone, or can they be brought back in some way? And sorry to say, I don't have a whole lot of answers for those things. Not yet. For as much as Glitch and Gooseworks packed into the first
Maybe being
episode,
abstracted is actually how you escape.
Maybe.
Thing and not giving us a whole lot of answers, but I do think they've given us plenty here to theorize about. So here are 3 Amazing Digital Circus theories. Don't run for the exit doors yet, my friends. We're going in. Let's start things off a bit small scale.
I'm going
Theory
in.
number 1, everything in the show is literally a video game set in the late 1990s. Now, there's a lot in just this one episode that paints this as a video game world. For example, right at the beginning, we see a pixelated title card for the show. It's obviously in the style of old school PC, PlayStation, and N64 games. This is further driven home in a secret video that you can find if you go to wackywatch.com, a URL shown on screen during the episode, which shows us the main menu for this game. We also see a flower pot fall to the ground and clip into it, kind of like an old school Source Engine glitch. Kane mentions that he created the digital world in the weird backrooms office area in a way that's very similar to how a game developer would create world spaces. Plus, when Pomni first enters the world, she says this:
I put on some weird headset and now I'm here.
Again, directly implying that the whole thing is a game. She put on a VR headset and was transported into the world of the digital circus. All of that checks out and should be pretty darn obvious to the casual viewer.
Yeah. So basically she got Sword Art Online into an old retro game.
But what you might have missed is the fact that this is set in the late 1990s.
Which I've now heard some people like make the argument is like, can you actually consider being in a video game to be like an actual isekai? Which I think, due to the definition I've heard of isekai, lost in another world.
Yes, I think you can.
I think you can.
Because, let's be honest.
It may not be a world off of Earth, but it's a world in a digital format. It's not our
It is.
world, so.
It is, and plus, the truth is, when you actually go through the Sword Art Online anime, there are people who have already given up on trying to get back and are now just completely, like, lost in the world in which they live.
There are also people who actually escape from it, though, in Sword Art Online, so...
But there are, but at the same time, I think these people, if they would have never woken up, they would have been fine. They would have been fine living in that world because to them, it was more enjoyable than the real world.
Possibly.
Especially if they were, trapped in debt or anything like that, and then all of a sudden, it's like, oh, I'm in this infinite sprawling world that I don't have to personally beat, but if I wanted to, I could just be a fisherman for the rest of my life. I've always found being a fisherman satisfying. And who knows, maybe I can pick up other skills along the way, like wood carving, or like house building, or electrical work, or something. And that's the thing. Like, the world that Sword Art Online gives to the players that were in it, and a lot of people would find that world way more appealing than the real world. I mean, personally, if you were to drop me into a world where magic was real, you could do these insanely cool things, like with swords, with like magic items and stuff like that. Not gonna lie, I would be tempted. I would be very tempted.
My main thing is just the people that I know outside of that world,
That's my main thing too.
Never seeing my friends and family is the one thing that would make me not really want to stay.
And that's my deal with it, is that a lot of these people, I guarantee you, didn't have what you and I have. They don't have these real world connections that anchor them down into not wanting to stay.
Yeah.
But I think at that point it would be a choice for a lot of people to lose themselves in that digital world and thus basically become someone else in that new digital world, like an isekai. Now there are isekais like Overlord and all these other ones that basically it's like they start playing a video game, then the video game becomes their reality, and they don't escape at all. There's no way for them to escape at all that we're aware of. But yeah, in terms of Pomni's experience, this does seem like an isekai where there really isn't an escape. At least there isn't one that we're aware of just yet. And if there is one, I mean, maybe there's some of the characters who would gladly be left behind. I don't know. Maybe Kinger would choose to be left behind because Kinger will realize, oh, I now remember why I came to this world in the first place. My wife left me. My children wanted nothing to do with me. My mother just died. And I had nothing. I think I'll stay. I mean...
Hard to tell.
Very hard to tell.
Not the present day, like you might expect from something talking about using VR headsets. And there is a lot of circumstantial evidence that points us to this conclusion. First of all, basically all the tech that we see throughout the series seems to be pulling straight from the 90s. Anytime we see a computer in the show, it's always the white boxy styled CRT monitors and large white computer towers reminiscent of models made by companies like Dell and Gateway back in the 90s and early 2000s. And this is both in the actual episode and in the off-site material as well.
I would also make the argument that that's old. It would mean that the system has been around since the 90s, but Pomni is dropping into it in the modern day. Because you gotta remember, there was also the characters that came before that became abstract and were deleted. How long has this been going on?
The right doesn't look that old.
No, this is not from the show. This is from the little thing that you find on the extra website, and that's on a VHS tape, which stands to reason that it would be set in the 90s. That VHS tape's set in the 90s, but the show itself, where this is like an older looking PC, I would say it's been a while since this has been set up. And
part of it could be that it was a program that was created before its time, whenever like good VR and stuff wasn't available, that someone booted up on modern VR systems and it just happened to have dire effects of trapping you in it.
Yes. Potentially. Potentially, I don't know. But anyway, sorry.
In that same Wacky Watch commercial, we see a real-life computer with the same old-school design. What's more, the beginning of this Wacky Watch video says that this was an old tape recovered on a day that's censored, and given the degradation on that tape, implies that not only is this video old, but it was also recovered in the past as well. But this goes beyond just the tech that's used in the series. Many of the characters and iconography from the show are very reminiscent of popular characters and ideas from the late 90s and early 2000s. Pomni's gesture design takes a lot of cues from Sega's old Nights into Dream series. Jax shares design inspiration and a similar name with Max, the rabbit from the Sam and Max games. Bubble clearly takes cues from Super Mario's Chain Chomps. Jax and Gangle were both inspired by characters like Poppy the Performer, an old Japanese 3D animated series, while Kane and the digital circus setup is very reminiscent of the villain and plot of I Have No Mouth and I Must Scream, a short story by Harlan Ellison adapted into a point-and-click adventure game in 1995. Any way you slice it, it's very clear that the creators want the show to have the same 90s vibe that we're all so nostalgic for right now. But you might be thinking,
one thing
hold on,
they mention is the one chick that's kind of...
The abstract art?
Yeah. Like that art style, like that was like Rocco's Modern Life. There was stuff like that painted on the walls of restaurants,
yeah, it
like
was
Taco Bell back then.
It was. They called it modern abstract back in the day because modern art, you know, was brought up with like Picasso and stuff like that. But the abstract nature of it being in a 3D space, that's what gave it its own flair and everything, and stuff like that. Yeah, it was a very 90s thing. Because you look at Saved by the Bell, the intro to Saved by the Bell has a lot of that. And that's like late 80s, early 90s.
About VR headsets here, that's a modern thing, right? Wouldn't this thing just be inspired by the 1990s rather than set in the 1990s? That's a pretty good call out. A lot of advances in virtual reality technology have only been made across the last decade, especially when you're talking about gaming. But that doesn't mean that VR technology didn't exist back in the 1990s. And I'm not just talking about the rudimentary black and red wireframes of the Virtual Boy.
No, there was other stuff. No, there was other ones before that, but they were very like archaic.
1991, Sega announced the Sega VR. In 1993, Virtuality created the Mega Visor display. And in 1995, Fort Technology hit us with the VFX-1 headset, just to name a few. And looking into old footage of all these things, it doesn't look too dissimilar to the sort of world that we see in the amazing digital Circus. Simple, flat textures, rudimentary shapes and polygons. There's not a lot of detail here, but that's for good reason. These headsets, they couldn't handle a lot of detail. True story, I actually have some first-hand experience with these rudimentary headsets. The Great Lakes Science Center in Cleveland, Ohio, actually had a special exhibit on VR technology in its basement when I was a kid, and it blew my mind. With the amount of wires and cables these things took to run, it felt like you were jacking into the Matrix, and you had to wait 45 minutes to put on one of these headsets, but all of a sudden, you were dropped into a video game. It was simple. I was walking through a purple field with a bunch of green triangular mountains in the background, but it was effective, and it captured my imagination for decades since. So much so that even though it was a 5-minute experience that happened in my life like 2 decades ago, I still remember it vividly to this very day. Anyway, Mad Pat childhood stories aside, the long and short of all of this, everything that we see in the series is pointing to this taking place in the past and not in the present. All of this has already happened from our perspective. We're just watching the events of the game unfold. So now that we know that we're in a 1990s video game here, let's dig a bit deeper, shall we? Theory number 2, Pomni helped create this hell simulation that they're currently stuck in. It's a pretty bold claim, so what would make me say that? Well, a couple of things. Firstly, one of the scenes that really jumped out to me while I was watching and rewatching the pilot was the sequence where Pomni's running through the back rooms on the other side of the exit door. At one point, she enters a more traditional looking office space with computers and cubicles before stopping and staring at one desk in particular. This is played as a big moment. We linger on this shot for a long time as a classic horror-esque dolly zoom.
Oh, I see that.
Moment. We linger on this shot.
Looky there.
Yeah.
VR headset, headphones.
VR headset, yep.
Oh, man.
For a long time as a classic horror-esque dolly zoom hits both the desk and Pomni before she has herself a psychological break. The lights start to flicker and she cackles uncomfortably before running on. The whole thing is really menacing and off-putting and clearly meant to leave us with a big impression. Why? Well, because this desk isn't just some simulation that Kane cooked up in the back rooms. It's based on a real place in the real world of this universe outside of the simulation. A place that we actually see in the episode. At the very end, right before the credits roll, we zoom out of the circus and beam through the void, revealing that all of this has been taking place inside of a computer. That makes sense. We've already established that this right here is a big old simulation. But take a look at the computer and the desk. It's the exact same setup that we saw earlier in the episode in the backroom section. The same old equipment on the left, the same file cabinets on the right, the same retro monitor and keyboard and computer tower and speakers, the same VR headset and headphones. This is exactly the same, but clearly this one's in the real world. Not only have we literally zoomed out of the computer, implying that we're no longer in said simulation, but the lighting in the scene is much more natural. It's warmer. Sunlight is streaming through the nearby window, all at an angle because the sun's lower in the sky. This is not the flat computer simulation lighting that we've been seeing throughout the rest of the episode. That right there, the desk and computer setup existing both in the simulation and in the real world, is already a pretty interesting point, but why then would it break Pomni? What causes her to go off the deep end and start laughing? Well, I think that subconsciously, Pomni recognizes that this is her desk. At the beginning of the episode, they make it clear that Pomni has lost her human memories, but this, I believe, is triggering a deep realization inside of her. Based on what we're given here, I believe that Pomni's human persona is an employee at CNA, the company developing the digital Circus game and VR headset, and seeing it here inside the game unlocks some weird flash of her memory as to what's happening to get her into this situation. She's trapped in the very game that she helped to create. It's ironic, hence why she laughs. It's funny. It's darkly funny. I can see this being a huge reveal down the line, and one that could be potentially devastating for all the rest of our characters. For Pomni, obviously, but also for all the other characters who are trapped in here who would be seeing her as the one to blame for their current imprisonment. Also, real quick, super short micro theory. I don't think we have enough information to figure out what the initials in the company name
if it's
CNA stand.
As of yet unreleased game, they could all be employees.
Maybe that's
It'd be all of their faults.
Yeah. And what if the time structure functions on, it's like 1 second in that game is like an hour, or 1 second in real life is like an hour inside that game, or just like something along those lines. And what if they all logged in at different times, and that's why she's late to the party, and everyone else seems like they've been there a lot longer than her.
She was like, "Now that y'all are set up, I'll come join you," or whatever.
It's like, or she had to do maybe she had to take a bathroom break. And like average bathroom break for most people out there, let's say, is like 5 minutes. So 5 times 60, that's 300 minutes times 60, that is 1,800. That is 1,800, and then times that by an hour. That would be over 1 million hours if the time structure that I'm thinking, if 1 second in there is an hour, or 1 second in our world is an hour in there, it would make sense that a lot of them would like be in there for a long time. So yeah, it's crazy to think about if like that's because you know how it is in Reboot, remember? They don't talk in minutes, hours, or days. They talk in like nanoseconds, milliseconds, and then seconds and minutes, because of like how fast processing works.
Yeah. And
I think that might be the same thing here, but I don't know. Also, Reboot, another classic show from the 90s that I can definitely see having some inspiration from this.
Was that on Toonami?
It was, yes.
Yeah, okay. So that was the one Toonami show that wasn't animated that I still really liked a lot.
Well, it was animated. It was
wasn't anime.
It was CG. Oh yeah, it was CG animated.
It wasn't Japanese animation.
It was full 3D CG. Oh shit!
I always loved the episode of that with like the Evil Dead style like game that they got dropped into.
That was great.
Yeah.
And the only thing the guy would say was groovy.
Yeah, that's why it was awesome.
Yeah, and then of course was gosh, there were some great episodes like later in the series, whenever they got back to mainframe after being away for so long. And just, the fight between Megabyte and Matrix is just so good. So hard hitting and so good. It's just like there's a lot of emotion behind it. It's like, look what you did to my home. And it's just like, of course. It's like, he's a virus. What did you expect?
Mm-hmm. It's one show I would like to rewatch at some point. And I also wonder if it was ever actually finished narratively or not.
Unfortunately, no. They never did properly
Got
finish
canceled.
it.
Damn.
Well, they did a few things. They did there was a season after, or a movie, or no, there was a season afterwards called Damon Rising. It was basically them having to deal with a new virus called Damon. It was mentioned whenever they were on their way back to mainframe. And then after that, after Damon is dealt with, then Megabyte, then all of a sudden, I don't want to get into why, but Megabyte comes back somehow. And it's just, and unfortunately, they get to a certain point in the story, things leave off on a cliffhanger, and we never see what happens. I hate it. I hate it.
Makes
Don't think we have enough information.
Both want to and not want to rewatch it for that reason.
Yeah, they did finish it up in the comics. They did like a comic strip to finish it up, but still, damn.
To figure out what the initials in the company name C and A stand for, but one possibility that did jump out to me, it could potentially stand for Cain and Abel, partially named after the AI ringleader of the simulation Cain, which could then lead itself to a lot of interesting story possibilities. Cain and Abel are a pair of brothers who are the sons of Adam and Eve, with Cain ultimately killing his brother and creating the first ever murder in the world. Anyway, you know how we love ourselves a good biblical reference here, and I just wanted to mention it as we get more clues in future episodes. But something we do have more than enough to say about, theory number 3, all the characters aren't actually humans trapped inside the digital circus. Instead, they're all digital copies of the brains of humans who've put on these headsets, cloned and then forced into the simulation.
Which would explain why they're not still sitting in the computer chair there.
Yeah.
In which case, that's Soma. Like, really similar to Soma in terms of, like, the existential, like, dread that it invokes.
Potentially, yeah.
Of just a copy of yourself is a copy of yourself, really, even you, obviously not, but
no,
obviously your copy could continue without you, and you're still you, trapped in whatever situation you wanted to scan yourself into to get away from, so
I guess, but I don't know, dude. I mean, I think all of these, like, this computer is part of a network of other computers, and everyone else is already connected, and Pomni's just late to the party. Anyway, that's what I think.
Pretty big swing. I mean, Pomni's first line of the series is practically, "Oh no, I'm a human who put on a headset and now I'm trapped here." And then Cain follows it up with this.
My, it appears a new human has entered this realm!
Human. He calls her a human. And that actually lines up with what we've seen with the official synopsis, explicitly calling Pomni and the others humans, in contrast to Cain being an AI. Quote from that synopsis: "A woman gets trapped in a crazy virtual world along with 5 other humans and are now subject to the whims of wacky AI and their own personal traumas." Plus, I just personally like the image of a bunch of people strapped into these VR headsets a la Sword Art Online. But all of that being said, I believe that there's a lot of evidence pointing towards these characters being computerized clones rather than actual humans. For instance, as I mentioned above, Pomni starts going a bit crazy when she sees her desk from the real world in the circus's back rooms. But think, what was actually on that desk? A headset. Pretty clearly a headset that is not on any human's head. And that's not just a thing in the simulation, it's also on the desk in the real world too that we see in the final shot of the pilot. If there's a human trapped in the digital circus,
it should be on a human's head right now if they're trapped in this.
Yeah, I don't know.
It really could be like that. It's also similar to Cyberpunk, Johnny.
Yeah, that's
Soul
true.
Killer.
with a headset firmly planted on their head that they can't get off, shouldn't they, you know, be stuck there with the headset on their head? Given the little that we have to go off of right now, it makes more sense that Pomni put on the headset, had her consciousness copied into the game, and then she just took off the headset to go home. Meanwhile, Pomni in the game can't take it off because she's not a flesh and blood human anymore. She's a digital copy whose memories begin the moment the headset is put on.
Could just be being corrupted, like the codes get corrupted by glitches that are in the system already, you know?
Maybe.
Like, they seemingly are going insane because they're actually just corrupting in terms of their code. The code's not perfect, so...
Yeah, probably.
Wrong, and this desk isn't Pomni's. All the other characters went through this exact same process when they first joined, as Jax hinted at when he sarcastically said,
"How do I take this headset off?"
Just keep grabbing at it. That works for all of us.
They all tried the exact same thing, and it didn't work for any of them. They're all digital copies grasping at a VR headset that isn't there anymore. But you know the thing that really convinced me of this theory? The mannequins. Yeah, did you notice these guys? All throughout the episode, we see several artist mannequins populating the circus. You know, these are the things that artists will sometimes buy to help them get references for poses. Most prominently, we see them in the restaurant with Kane and Bubble acting as background characters. But why would they matter? Well, we know that Kane can create NPCs.
Kane, is this one of your NPCs or is this a new sucker?
So maybe these mannequins are just random, nameless characters that Kane made up to fill in the circus. Maybe, but that just doesn't sit right with me. First off, the dolls are clearly capable of emotions. We see one get upset when Pomni interrupts it taking a bath, silently screaming at Pomni until she slams the door. There's
I forgot about that.
That's such a great bit.
something more going on here than just these things being background extras. Take a look at this. When Ragatha is showing Pomni to her room, there are several other doors for other characters in the background. This is actually a great piece of world building. We see that each of the current characters have themselves their own rooms, as well as several other characters that we haven't met yet.
And the mannequins. The mannequins are on the doors that are on unoccupied rooms.
Yeah, so whenever someone scanned in, the mannequin becomes a new character, essentially, for them.
Yeah.
One that I can't quite make out, what looks to be a pinkish purple goo monster, some sort of cute doggo, green and orange anteater looking guy, a black queen chess piece that I'm gonna guess is named Queenie, seems to be Kinger's counterpart, implying that he didn't come into the simulation alone. Regardless, all of these portraits have giant red X's over them, and that checks out. These are likely characters that have abstracted in the past, just like Kaufmo did. We even see other abstracted creatures in the cellar when Kane banishes Kaufmo. Anyway, along with these past and current characters, we also see several doors with blank mannequins on them. Not just one, but multiple doors. If I had to guess what's going on here, when a new human enters the game, these rooms transform into one that's appropriate for them, and the mannequin on the door transforms into their character. And what's more, I believe that there's a mannequin in the game that also transforms into that character. Right now, they're placeholders, but they get molded into these human copies whenever someone new puts on the headset, and their brain gets scanned into the system. That would fit thematically with the idea of the mannequins to begin with. They're supposed to be used as references and then turned into something real when you're using them for your artwork. That would also fit with the fact that they're on the doors of all these empty rooms, and the characters being scanned clones of human brains would fit the fact that they can't take off their headsets, despite us seeing a headset not being worn at a desk that is clearly meant to be Pomni's. It just all fits with what we've seen from the series so far. In short, the series is gaslighting us. It isn't about a bunch of humans trapped in a simulation, it's about a bunch of human consciousnesses that have been scanned into an AI system and then mapped onto blank mannequin bodies, where the computer can then simulate their human behavior and push their buttons to the breaking point, learning the weaknesses of the human psyche. And then, when they've had too much and abstract out of the system, well, then you just boot up another new simulation and try again. There is no exit door, just an endless loop of torturous tests run by Kane as he tries to understand the human experience. Just like a real circus, all of it is just a big performance. But hey, you know what character in the show...
It's actually really scary, because that means there's nothing they can do.
No.
Their only existence, even though they remember all the things before. Well, they don't really remember all the things before. They say they forgot a lot before, I think, didn't they?
Yeah. But I get what you're saying.
They all don't quite remember exactly how they got there, so...
No.
But they do remember that that's not where they're supposed to be, supposedly, which is, for them, scary.
Yeah.
So,
very scary.
It actually is where they're supposed to be.
Yes.
That I think is criminally underrated. Bubbles! This adorable little bubble doggo seems like they're willing to eat just about anything, but I know for a fact they would absolutely love the food from the sponsor of today's episode, Sunday's Dog Food. If you've followed the channel for a while, you'll know that I've always been more of a cat person, but a lot of Team Theorists are dog owners and absolutely
We're both.
adore their furry friends. And so when I told them about
Well,
Sundays,
technically, we
they
don't own Ash or Kate owns Asher, but he is definitely a member of the household.
Yes. A good doggo.
Yeah, the good boy.
loved what Sundays was all about. Why wouldn't they be? Sundays is basically the best dog food in the digital multiverse. Unlike a lot of other brands, all of Sundays dog food is human grade. You see, the whole company was started by a vet who wanted the food her dog ate to be as nutritious as a real home-cooked meal. That means no hyper-processed chemicals or synthetic vitamins. If you look at the label, you're actually going to be able to pronounce everything that's going into Sundays because it's all the
mixed tocopherols. That's not gonna say, that's a lot less of like the maltodextrin and, you know, shit like that you see in a lot of these, but I'm sorry, but as soon as he says that...
Vitamins. If you look at the label, you're actually getting a cooked meal. That means everything that's going says chemicals or synthetic vitamins. If you look at the label, you're actually going to be able to pronounce everything that's going into sundaes because...
And then that's on screen right there. I'm just like,
I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
I don't know if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Tocopherol.
Other than that, though, if you look through that ingredient list, that is a lot more natural looking than a lot of dog foods that you find at the store.
Tocopherol, a fat-soluble phenolic compound. Are considered safe, but in high doses can be dangerous.
That's for people.
E. I don't know.
But what I learned about at least cat food, I'm assuming it's probably the same for dog food, is the way they list the ingredients. They're required to list at the top of the ingredients list the thing that there's the most percentage of in it.
Mm-hmm.
So these do look at a glance like pretty good dog foods because you're starting at the top with turkey. This is made mostly of turkey heart, turkey liver, some egg yolk. That's like its main ingredients. It's got some millet, pumpkin, kale, ground bone, fish oil, sea salt, parsley, chicory root, flaxseed, kelp, turmeric, ginger. All of that before the mixed tocopherols. And then after that, you got a little bit of blueberries, pumpkin seeds, shiitake mushroom, and sunflower seeds. So it's like, other than that one preservative, doesn't seem too bad.
No.
It's all the stuff that you're already likely eating yourself. And unlike other healthy dog foods, sundaes requires no prep, no defrosting, and no cleanup. All it requires is a dog to enjoy eating it, which honestly shouldn't be that hard. It's already hard-coded into the game system. For example, one of our team members, Rachel, volunteered to let us film her pup Stevie trying the food out for the first time. And the results just really speak for themselves. Look at this. Even though Stevie is super shy around new people, as soon as we broke out the sundae, she really opened up and basically started drooling despite all the new faces with cameras. And just look at her go into that food. I'm not sure I've ever loved anything I've eaten quite as much as this dog is loving that sundaes. If you want to give your dog this awesome vet-created dog food made from real ingredients that you'd actually find on your own dinner plate, you can get 35% off your first order by clicking the link in the pinned comment below and then using our code FILMTHEORY at
that's good.
checkout. Once again, that's 35% off your first order
What I
by going to
find
the
with
link in the
most of
pinned
these
comment.
sponsors, though, and the reason they do these sponsorships in the first place, most of these kind of products are usually really expensive. So I wonder how much it actually costs. And if it comes in a box like this and we're trying to feed Asher in it, like one box is going to be like maybe 2 mils for him, you know? Because he's a big old boy.
Customize your plan. Doggy's name. He the boy. Yes. What would you say, like 70?
Yeah, I was thinking something like 70, 75 maybe.
Yeah, let's do 75.
He's an adult.
Yeah.
Is he considered a senior at this point?
I don't think so.
He's getting there.
Average, very active.
I'd say he's probably average.
He chunk.
Yeah.
He ain't overweight, but he is chunky.
He's a little chunky.
Kibble. Asher is a
American bully.
Sometimes.
Yes.
Sometimes he is a.
Not really.
No, he eats anything.
It's a trash can.
Yes.
He's a garbage disposal.
He is, literally. No, he does not need a prescription diet. One last thing. Are you?
You have to get in that count in order to actually get your.
Ooh.
That's a bad sign too.
Oh, well.
It's like, sign up with an account so we can keep bugging you until you give in and buy our expensive food.
Below, and then using the code FILMTHEORY at checkout. FILMTHEORY. Thanks again to Sundays for sponsoring this episode, and as always, my friends, remember, it's all just a theory. A film theory. And cut.
How much does Sunday's food cost? Hold on.
$33 a week. That's for a 38-pound dog.
Holy crap. 72 ounces. Why are you not letting me switch over, damn it? That's some bullshit. Oh well.
Yeah, if it's $33 a week for a 38-pound dog, it's probably going to be too expensive to feed Asher with.
More than likely. Well, anyway. This...
Overall, I kind of think that I might agree with Matt Pat on this video.
I do too.
Especially for the third part. Like, it makes a lot of sense. It would be a pretty dark way to end it, to an extent. It's like, there's probably a lot of kids that are really into this show already. You really gonna subject kids to some Soma/Black Mirror type stuff?
Yes. If you do it right, it could
terrify
work.
These kids.
Yeah, if you do it right, it could work.
Traumatized children.
I know. Children deserve to be traumatized, damn it. I was traumatized as a child, although it wasn't even...
We here at the Renegades do not actually condone traumatizing children. Please don't.
But we do, however, find it hilarious, as evidenced from Nick's laugh. So, yeah, this is an interesting film theory, and I mean, the Amazing Digital Circus is very rapidly approaching 100 million views, which it deserves. I mean, dear God, they've done such great work with that show, and I can't wait to see what comes next with it. But, yeah, let us know what you all thought about this film theory. I mean, do you agree with Matt Pat? Do you think that it will, in fact, have its own, have its own little, like, do you think these theories will hold water, or do you think that they'll fall by the wayside? I mean, I'd love to hear what you all think. Anyway, I guess until next time, signing off, I'm Nate.
I am Nick.
Y'all be good people. We'll see you in the next one. Peace.